Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. I am Jamie Beth. Today we're going to talk about ghost towns, and I'm so excited to talk about this. I don't know why, I just am. I came across this article the other day. Like, this is how I come up with these videos, is I'm sitting here reading, falling down the rabbit hole of the internet, and I come across these interesting stories or articles or whatnot, and I just want to reiterate that information to you guys. So this is how I came up with my ghost towns. We are going to talk about ghost towns throughout the country, and a lot of these ghost towns, it's not even that they're haunted. I'm sure they're haunted, and I'm sure there's some spirits that are lingering around, but more so the fact that there's still like whole entire towns that are sitting there vacant and nobody has touched these in years. Now, not all of them are true ghost towns. There is, I think, one or two in my array of notes here that I think has like a restaurant, or they're becoming maybe like touristy attractions, stuff like that. But anyways, we're gonna jump right in and start talking about these ghost towns. And the first ghost town we are going to talk about is Calico, California. And this ghost town actually has been turned into a tourist attraction. So you might not find any silver in this ghost town, but you will find a lot of cool activities because it's been, again, turned into a tourist attraction. At the Calico Ghost Town, now a California historical landmark, you can explore Maggie Mine, the only formerly used mine in the area that's safe for guests to see. You can also take a ride on Calico-Odessa Railroad to see all of the sights. If you're really feeling daring, you can even participate in one of the spooky ghost tours. Moving along to Rhyolite, Nevada. On the eastern end of Death Valley sits Rhyolite, a former mining hub. At its peak in 1907, this town boasted a hospital, an opera house, and a stock exchange. The area seemed so promising that even Charles M. Schwab invested and bought one of the mines. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for thousands of people to scatter when the financial crisis, some natural disasters, and the loss of funding caused nearly every resident to leave this Nevada spot by 1920. I do want to add that I don't just have stories within the United States. I do have some at the end of the video in other countries, because there are like entire cities that are vacant, and I just wanted to kind of add those at the end. So it's not just within the United States, but most of these that I'm going to talk about are in the United States. The next one we're going to talk about is Goldfield, Arizona. So Goldfield, Arizona was a swarming mining area in the late 1800s, but dried up by 1898. The area was inhabited and renamed Youngsburg in 1921, but was abandoned again in 1926. In 1988, the defunct city took the route of a few other ghost towns and became a tourist attraction, with a handful of activities including a zip line, a reptile exhibit, and horseback rides. There's also a museum, a saloon, and other different merchants that you can visit when you're there. Moving along to St. Elmo, Colorado. Formerly named Forest City, St. Elmo was once a bustling mine center with a population of 2,000 at its peak. By 1930, only 7 people reportedly resided there, including the family who ran the general store and the hotel, one who is rumored to haunt the place to this day. Now privately owned and maintained, you are able to still visit the city, which is said to have some of the most paranormal activity in the whole entire state. I do think it's kind of cool that a lot of these like ghost towns, especially the ones back in the Western era, are still lingering, so that you can see how these people lived way back then. I think that's really neat. Next up is Bodie, California. Abandoned by the discouraged gold rushers who followed William Bodie to the town to try, but not succeed, to find more of the precious metal he had discovered in 1859. This well-known ghost town in California has been left eerily untouched for more than 150 years. Shacks still stand with tables set, waiting for their long-gone residents to return, while the shops and restaurants are still stocked up with some supplies, prepared to service customers who will never arrive. Moving on to Cahawba, Alabama. Southwest of Selma lies Alabama's most famous ghost town. As the state's first permanent capital from 1820 to 1825, a bustling center for trading and transfer of cotton before the Civil War, and a village for freed slaves after the war. This town did make several comebacks after floods and yellow fever epidemics. Unfortunately, its residents all drifted away for good by 1900s. Now known as the Old Cahawba Archaeological Park, the town and its abandoned streets, cemeteries, and ruins have been the setting for many ghost stories, including one about a ghostly orb appearing in a now vanished garden maze at the home of C.C. Pegas. Moving along to Kennecott, Alaska. Considered the best remaining example of early 20th century copper mining, this mill town is at the end of a 60-mile dirt road in the middle of Alaska's massive Wrangell St. Elias National Park. From 1911 to 1938, Kennecott employed as many as 300 people in the mill town and 300 in the mines, processing nearly 200 million worth of copper. As a company town, it included a hospital, general store, school, skating rink, tennis court, recreation hall, and dairy. By 1938, however, the copper ore was tapped out, and the Kennecott Copper Corporation abruptly abandoned the town, leaving behind their equipment, their buildings, and their personal belongings. The National Park Service and tour operators offer guided access to the 14-story concentration mill and several other historic buildings, telling tales of lucky fortunes, tenacious frontiersmen, and a tragic ending in the most remote wilderness. Have any of you visited any ghost towns, like any ghost towns? Tell me please in the comments down below. I would love to hear your stories and where you visited, because I do want to put some of these on my bucket list. Moving along to Bannack, Montana. This desolate mining town in Montana is so riddled with paranormal activity. It was featured on an episode of the Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures. Founded in 1862 by John White when he discovered gold on Grasshopper Creek, Bannack was a typical gold rush town in the Wild West. After gold was discovered in nearby Virginia City, many prospectors moved there, and the road between the two towns became the scene of more holdups, robberies, and murders than almost any other stagecoach route, with the leader of the outlaw gang being none other than the town's sheriff. The mining town lasted longer than most, with its population finally teetering out between 1930 and 1950, at which point the state of Montana made the well-preserved town a state park. Today, over 60 structures are still standing, most of which can be explored. Next up on our list is the South Pass City in Wyoming. Another well-deserved mining town in the American West, South Pass City was founded in 1867 when the large Carissa gold deposit was discovered near Sweetwater River. Located about 10 miles north of the Oregon Trail on the Continental Divide in the Rocky Mountains, prospectors soon descended onto the area despite the severe conditions, hoping to strike rich. Within a year, the town was booming with almost 2,000 people, mostly men. There were a lot of saloons and brothels, and the boisterous and dangerous life of the frontier town were in full swing. Despite throwing themselves into back-breaking work, the prospectors didn't find more large gold deposits, so by the mid-1870s, only 100 people remained. Homes, stores, hotels, saloons fell in disrepair, with the last of the pioneer families moving away in 1949. Today, a handful of residents have returned to live in South Pass City, and the South Pass City State Historic Site features more than 30 preserved historical structures dating from the city's heyday. Moving along to Centralia, Pennsylvania, and I don't know if I've mentioned this one in another video, and I do apologize if I did. I try not to talk about the same things over and over again, so if I have repeated this, I do apologize. This one is really, really interesting though. With smoke and noxious gases escaping from every nook and cranny, this Pennsylvania town has been smoldering since 1962, and its underground fire is expected to burn another 250 years. The landfill burn gone awry sparked the fire in an abandoned coal mine, which quickly spread into the veins of the coal deposits that had once been the key to Centralia's prosperity. When the initial damage was done, it had scorched 140 acres of town and the surrounding area. Residents evacuated, homes were leveled, and the highway was closed down as the massive fire caused gaping sinkholes spewing fume. All of the nearly 2,000 Centralia residents who were there when the mines caught fire, only 6 still remain, determined to make the few streets and buildings in this doomed town their home until they die. Oh, that's so crazy. Now moving along to Glenrio, which borders Texas and New Mexico. So during the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, travelers packed Route 66, sending tens of thousands of people to Glenrio, a tiny town that borders Texas and New Mexico that offered motorists a road stop with gas stations, diners, bars, Western-themed motels, and even a dance hall. When I-40 was built in the 1970s, drivers bypassed the former overnight desert oasis. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places, the Glenrio Historic District includes the old Route 66 roadbed and 17 abandoned buildings, like the Little Juarez Diner, the State Line Diner, and the State Line Motel. It's now broken signs announcing to non-existent motorists that it's the last in Texas or the first, depending on your direction of travel through the American West. I do have a little bit of fallout right here that I will clean up by the end of this video. Moving along to the Essex County Jail Annex, North Caldwell, New Jersey. A prison is always haunting, always, and an abandoned one exudes creepy feelings. I mean, it's just one of the quintessential scary places. This Victorian-style Essex County Jail Annex in New Jersey, first built in 1873 and expanded over the years to include an auditorium, hospital, cafeteria. Much of the facility was closed down in the 1970s, and it was abandoned for good by the 1990s. Left to decay and vandalism by thrill seekers, inmates' files filled with mugshots and rap sheets soon covered the floor of the auditorium, while shotgun ports and tear gas modules on the ceilings of the mess hall remain to remind trespassers of their potential harrowing fate should they be judged criminals. Moving along to Grossinger's Catskill Resort. So in its heyday, this is the type of resort that you would see kind of like in the movie Dirty Dancing, that resort that the family went to visit. This would be like a resort like that where well-to-do families went to spend their summer vacations. They would swim in one of the 2 massive swimming pools, play golf or tennis, and enjoy the lush 1,200-acre surroundings just 2 hours north of New York City. In the winters, it offered theater and skiing, the first place in the world to use artificial snow on its slopes. Of the cabins, cottages, hotels, landing strip, post office, and more that served the resort's hundreds of thousands of guests until it closed in the mid-1980s. If you listen hard enough, you might still hear the tinkling of cocktail glasses or the clicks of heels dancing the foxtrot. The last on our list of the ghost towns within the U.S. Is the Rolling Acres Mall in Akron, Ohio. Built in 1975 and expanded several times, the Rolling Acres Mall once housed more than 140 stores, a movie theater, and a food court. In 2008, the mall was closed and only 2 large retailers continued to operate. With all stores finally closing by 2013, having changed owners several times and currently in the process of foreclosure, the once bustling mall will likely be demolished. Until then, the 130 million square foot space remains an eerie, empty relic of modern civilization, with its cracked glass ceiling letting snow in during the winter storms, as if the structure stands alone in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. So moving along now to a couple stories of some haunted areas throughout the world. I wanted to add a few of these in there because I just thought these were really fascinating. There's a city in Ashgabat, Turkmenistan that is known as the City of the Dead. Turkmenistan is a former Soviet Union country with a leader that has been compared to North Korea's Kim Jong-un. The president of this Turkmenistan city planned to create a golden era of Turkmenistan in 1991 with the building of Ashgabat. He did so by erecting buildings that broke records, like becoming the city with the most marble buildings in the world. Ashgabat also has the world's largest Ferris wheel. Today, the city is referred to as the City of the Dead because it appears absolutely empty. It is in part because of the country's isolated culture. Turkmenistan is one of the least visited countries in the world. Moving along to Craco, Italy, which is used as the backdrop of many movies. Located in the arch of Italy's boot, Craco dates back to well before 1060. Throughout its 1,000-year history, Craco saw many conflicts. In 1963, the last of the 1,800 residents were forced to leave Craco for their own safety and were relocated to Craco, Pechlera, a new town in the valley below, according to ancient origins. Films such as Quantum of Solace and The Passion of the Christ have used the Italian ghost town to provide a spectacular and authentic setting to their stories. Despite it being abandoned, it is a popular tourist attraction, and it was added to the World Monuments Fund watch list in 2010. The last worldly place we're going to talk about is Wittenoom, Australia. Founded in 1946, Wittenoom was born as a mining town in Western Australia. The nearby gorge was brimming with blue asbestos, an important raw material used in the early 20th century. By the early 1950s, Wittenoom was one of the largest towns in Australia. Amid growing health concerns, the declining demand for asbestos led to the mine closing in 1966, with most of the residents moving away to find other work. Wittenoom was officially closed in 2007, and the Australian government took steps to limit access to the former mining town and removed it from all official maps. Due to the nature of the mining that took place there, asbestos fibers are still found in the topsoil and air around Wittenoom, making it dangerous to spend too much time in the town. Well, that is our video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit about these ghost towns throughout the United States, as well as the few that I mentioned around the world. There are many, many, many more around the world that I can talk about. If you guys want to hear more about them, let me know in the comments below. I can definitely do another video on them. If you guys liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and remember to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, as well as the little notification bell next to it to be notified of all of my upcoming videos. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.